Okay, today is Tuesday. It is 8:05 p.m., June 24th. What I noticed about my trading, uh, which has been true for quite a while, is something called a false positive. Okay? So I'm positive when I look at something that it's going to go up. Okay, I'm positive. And so I put my money in it. But the reality is my judgment in determining whether a setup is accurate or not has flaws. Okay, I am incapable of determining whether a setup is correct or not. But because my brain, wants to make a trade, it just determines that it is positive. So what I'm looking at is my thesis is saying, okay, go long, and I go in, but it turned out it's incorrect. Okay, because it's a false positive. Now I have that thinking because I don't have a specific. Okay, so I heard. Okay, so there's Deion Sanders was being interviewed and was asked a question. Okay, who's the greatest athlete? And he says an athlete who plays multiple sports. And so he mentioned Bo, what's his name? Bo. And he played football and baseball. And he apparently the difference between Deion Sanders and and Michael Jordan is that both of them are unable to hit curveballs, but Bo can hit curveballs, and therefore he is he is at the top of his game in football, and then also the top of his game in baseball because he is able to hit the curveball. So there is a distinction. So, in order for somebody to hit a curveball, a person has to make a judgment of what the ball is because what the curveball will do is it'll behave to a certain point as a fastball, but it'll veer somewhere else. That's the definition of a curveball. And so that is why people get can't hit curveballs because they're thinking that okay, it's going to come this way in a fast way, but it curves and moves the other way, and so it's a strike. So a person has to frame that particular situation such that that setup is correct, but my eyesight and the information that I have is incapable of concluding in the right manner, and that's why it's called a false positive. So when I look at this, and the biggest problem that I have in my trading is that I would look at this particular candle. Okay, I would look at this one candle, and it looks out of place within the sea of candles that are preceding it. And so what I would do is I'll see the green candle, and I'm thinking, okay, it's bullish. But what the left side is was essentially saying is that it is a bearish kind of a situation where the green candle is just taking a temporary reprieve before it moves going forward. And so I have been exposed to false positive thinking for the past 5 years and losing every time because of that, right? So the false positive also plays into thinking that when I lose and I double my risk, that I'm going to win. But in reality, it is worse. It's a bigger false positive because at that instant, the emotion the emotion that I have is causing it has caused my mind to essentially to see things totally incorrect now. It gets even worse because at this point my emotion has essentially blinded me. And so that is the reason why I would size up. That's the reason why. Okay, that's a clear indication of it. So there's something that I need to be very, very, very aware of, which is that there's something called a false positive, and I fall victim to it, and that's how I breach all my accounts. Okay, so I need to be very careful about my conclusions about a particular setup because yesterday I made like three trades, and for a 5K account, point 0.1 lot of AU is large, right? And so what I did was I clicked on it. Sure, it didn't move much, and so hey, it's safe. And then I clicked it again. Hey, it's safe. And then I clicked it again, and then it moved down a little bit. But when it moved down a bit, it was a tremendous amount of loss on, and then I held on to it, but it came back, so it covered a little bit, and I was able to close out one of them, but the other two started to move against me, and it is a false positive that when I enter with a big size, initially it's not going to move very much. Okay, it's a huge size, but as soon as it starts to move against me, I mean the loss is enormous. And so essentially what I did was I lost more than 1% on a 5K account, and I'm just saying to myself, oh my God, what happened? What happened? Why did I start clicking on it? Because there's a false positive thinking. It's not moving, so I feel like it's safe. And then my mind is saying, okay, it's not moving, so that must be doing something right. Instead of saying, okay, so it has to go in my direction. And even if it goes in my direction, it may just be a temporary thing. So I have to be cautious. So there's something called a false positive that I fall victim to.